Welcome back, Truth Seeker. This is a follow up to the short video I did yesterday as the news broke on the passing of David Wilcock. If you missed that video, again, what stands out about his death at 53 is that in the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words, the name David Wilcock equates to 53, and he died 53 days before Disclosure Day comes out, the big Hollywood summer film. I guess technically it's late spring. But again, David Wilcock is part of the disclosure movement. And again, covered a lot of this information yesterday in a short video. We'll revisit that. I also want to add in more details, such as how he died on the anniversary of Hitler's birthday. Of course, Spielberg, who's made some movies about Hitler, is doing Disclosure Day, and David Wilcock supposedly took his own life. Like they say, Hitler supposedly took his own life. And the other thing about Hitler is they say the Nazis might have had some UFO aircrafts themselves. And David Wilcock has done quite a bit of research on the subject of Nazi UFOs, which are also known as Foo Fighters. And of course, the whole UFO timeline started shortly after World War II. So we're going to talk about all that, as well as the reported death of his biographer. And there's two dates out there for the death of his biographer. One is April 14th. The other is April 18th. It does seem like the April 18th is making the rounds more. And we'll talk about what's interesting about both of those dates, April 14th and April 18th. I can't find any confirmation anywhere that his biographer actually died. And it took a while for there to be any actual real confirmation that David Wilcock himself had died. The Boulder Police Department's now come out and put out an image of their cars outside of his cabin. And the story is that they got a call. Apparently, he called 911, and the person who took the call thought something was off about him. So they sent out a team to respond. And the story is when the police showed up, he was carrying a weapon. And upon the police presence, he just decided to shoot himself. And that story sounds like a total load of BS. If you're new to my work, I have pointed out many a times there's a song from 1983 called Murder by Numbers by the Police about how killing is as simple as A, B, C is 1, 2, 3, and it's the sport of essentially the world elite. Everybody should look up the lyrics to Murder by Numbers. Again, Stuart Copeland in that band. His father was in the CIA, and the CIA does have a statue called Kryptos outside of its doors that pays tribute to this practice of coding numbers into words. So we're going to go over some things. I'm going to play a clip from his show when he gets the news. When I say his show, his last broadcast from April 19th. Reading his live chat, somebody lets him know that his biographer died, and he has an interesting reaction to that. He doesn't seem to be sad about it at all. We'll play that in a minute. And just for people who might watch my content for the first time, and maybe, they're a big David Wilcock fan, and it's just too much to hear all this, I just want to give you an example of the world of entertainment and suspicious deaths. Again, David Wilcock dies at 53 days before Disclosure Day comes out when he's part of the disclosure movement. There's a lot of stuff that we've documented like this over the years, and I could point to a number of examples, but one that is also just almost equally as blatant is the death of Lisa Loring, the original Wednesday actress from the Addams Family. I just want to take you back in time, and there's just so many examples I could point to, but she died at 64. And her name, Lisa Loring, equates to 64. And if you're wondering how you get these numerical values, it's very simple. They're all based on the alphabetic order. There's 4 base ciphers of the English language. The most simple is A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, all the way up to Z is 26. There's also running the alphabetic order in reverse. Z is 1 back to A is 26. And both orders with numerology applied. They are the 4 base ciphers of the English language. But Lisa Loring died at 64. The Addams Family show came out in 64. Keep in mind, this woman died right after the Wednesday Netflix show came out. again, based on the character from the Addams Family. But yeah, the show came out in 64 and ran 64 episodes, right? And then Lisa Loring dead at 64, like the spaces on the chessboard. And from the release of the Wednesday show to her passing was 66 days. And the surname Ortega equals 66. That's the young actress who plays Wednesday in the show. And you can see some of my other notes about up here. I'm not going to overwhelm you with the entire thing, but Jenna Ortega was 44 years younger than the original Wednesday actress at the time of her passing. Wednesday equates to 44, as does kill and execution. We talked about this in regards to the death of David Wilcock yesterday. He died on the 44th day of his age. Again, Wednesday equals 44, but so do the words kill and execution. Fateful pattern with 44, and it goes all throughout history, and it connects to, the highest levels of the land. The first president to die in office died on 4/4, the same day MLK would be assassinated on, who was the first born American to get a holiday named after him. And we will be talking about the Jesuits. Again, the Jesuits seem to have their fingerprints on David Wilcock as well. Jenna Ortega is born on the anniversary of the Jesuits being recognized by the Roman Catholic Church. But yeah, just this kind of stuff, it happens a lot. And again, the numbers. I mean, if people would just follow the numbers and see like, wait a minute, Wednesday just came out. Now the Wednesday actress is dead at 64 when the show came out in 64 and it ran 64 episodes. The stuff really happens all the time if you just pay attention. So to quickly recap what we covered yesterday before we get into the new information, his birthday is March 8th, which can be written 3/8 or 8/3. If you're new here, look up not just the song Murder by Numbers, look up the movie Murder by Numbers. This movie came out on April 19th. That was the day he did his last live show, which we're going to take a look at here in a second. But right in the poster, you have the 3 and the 8 encoded into the words Murder by Numbers. You also have the orange 7 and 9 surrounding the words. Again, in the base ciphers. We're gonna hit all these values here. Murder equates to 79, like the orange 7 and 9. And remember, the disclosure movement has the 79 connection, and the whole UFO thing began in 47, which is 79 years ago now. We're going to talk about the 34s in his death because they're there. And again, murder 83 and 38. His birthday, March 8th, can be written 3/8 or 8/3. And remember, he's dead in Colorado, which is also the 38th state in order of statehood. State that's no stranger to suspicious deaths. But yeah, from his birthday to his death was 43 days later, or you could also say he died on the 44th day of his age. But just notice, killing in Colorado, both 38 and 43. RIP 38 and 43. Death 38. Again, dead at 53. 53 days before the release of Disclosure Day, a movie that has to do with conspiracy and cover-up. He just happened to die 123 days after Steven Spielberg's birthday. Conspiracy 123. He died in the 303 area code 303 days after the anniversary of the first ever UFO sighting, which was June 21st, 1947. The disclosure movement he was a leader in. It has to do with UFOs. Again, this year's the 79th anniversary. Disclosure movement 79, also like murder. He died on 4/20. Again, a lot of 42 rituals on April 20th, as we covered. One of them was him, the UFO researcher, dead. Remember, the first UFO sightings were in Washington State, the 42nd state in order of statehood. The next set of UFO sightings were in New Mexico, which equals 42. And again, I'll say it again because I say it over and over. The two most alien-looking guys, arguably, in the world. Well, actually, Adam Silver would be up there too, but so would Sam Cassell. But two of them are Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, who both started their businesses in New Mexico and moved them up to Seattle, where the first UFO sightings were. That's why the Space Needle's up there. And the news did break about his passing on Rome's birthday, April 21st, the 111th day of the year, one day after he supposedly shot himself, which doesn't sound very legit. It happened once the police were on the scene, like the police did Murder by Numbers in 1983. So we're going to get into the also supposed passing of his biographer, Wynn. And thank you, Paula, for the super chat. Haven't seen you in a while, but glad to know you're still out there. Appreciate the donation for the channel membership as well. But yeah, there's different sources saying that the biographer who helped him write a book 20 some years ago either died April 14th, which is a very infamous day in history from Lincoln to the Titanic, or April 18th. And here's what's curious about these two dates. The book that he wrote with David Wilcock was The Reincarnation of Edgar Cayce. And that book released on March 11th. So notice, from March 11th to April 14th, if that's the day, is 34 days. Or if it's April 18th, it's 38 days after the publishing date. And what did we just say about the word murder? And keep in mind, Colorado has the 38. But murder is 34 and 38. So there's these two different dates floating online. And it seems like when it first broke, everyone was reporting it was April 14th. And then it seemed that the day that the David Wilcock news broke, that all of a sudden the date changed to April 18th. I took some time to go through the internet and track the chronology of these posts about his passing, and it looks like it started out as April 14th. But isn't it interesting? 34 and 38. And again, murder has the 34-38 connection. Another word that equals 34 is this word, what supposedly he did. And by the way, his book, the publishing date is March 11th, which is the 70th day of the year, typically in most years. And, you know, you can see that word also has the 47 value, like 1947 is the year that all the UFO phenomenon began. So you just got to say, what are the odds of that? Why are there these two different dates, and why do they line up like this? And again, there's no obituary for this man anywhere online. No obituary. It just makes you wonder about all of it. And again, like we always say, show business is deadly business. David Wilcock, he was somebody who went on Ancient Aliens. And regarding that, David Wilcock's dead at 53, which also means he's dead in his 54th year of life. If you're dead at 53, you're dead in your 54th year of life. For anyone who needs help with that, the year you're born, the day you're born, you begin your first year of life. When you turn 1, you begin your second year of life. When you turn 2, you begin your third year of life, so on and so forth. So the book about him is saying, is David Wilcock the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce, which equals 54. 54. And Ancient Aliens equals 54. And Jesuit order equates to 54 and 144. And for the record, Jesuit order also equals 72, as does Edgar Cayce. And remember, we got the first Jesuit Pope on the 72nd day of the year. And again, these are big numbers in their ritualism. If you're new here, the Jesuits at their peak, they had 54 universities in the U.S. Georgetown was founded by a 54-year-old John Carroll. Their headquarters is the Church of the Jesuit, Building 54. Really a bunch of other things. The Jesuit priest who created futurism, which almost everybody believes in now, died at 54. Futurism is the belief that the Bible is not a book of history, but it's a book of things to come in the future. Again, that's the work of the Jesuits, just like the calendar and the language. And the Jesuits are kind of the invisible hidden hand manipulating society. And you could say that, you know, the whole alien thing after World War II is a manipulation of society, because how many people lost their spiritual beliefs slowly over time because of this idea of UFOs and aliens and contradictions of the Bible? A lot to think about. But with regards to 54 and aliens, everyone should think about the movie They Live with Roddy Piper. What day did he put out his tweet that the movie was a documentary? If you've never seen They Live, Cable 54 is the enemy of the world. Roddy Piper gets the glasses. When he has the glasses, he can see that some people are actually aliens, even though they look just like humans. But yeah, Cable 54 is the enemy of the world. Roddy Piper tweeted on September 27th that They Live was a documentary. And then he ended up dying on July 31st, the anniversary of the Jesuit founder dying. But also about a theory of mine with regards to the whole alien thing. They Live came out in 1988. That was 41 years after 1947, right? And Alien is 41. And as I always point out, 94 years after 1947 is the year 2041. And I think they are going to do something just massive in the year 2041. Because what I see the whole alien thing as, I don't claim no, but just the way that they slowly reveal more information. And you could say that probably since about 2012, I think 2012 was the year the news started showing the video of the different sightings across the nation, including over Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, of something that looked like a UFO aircraft and it just flying up into the sky really fast. I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure that was around 2012-ish. Supposedly these sightings all over the world of ships doing that, just kind of hovering and then just taking off like a bolt of lightning up into the sky. I remember, and I was living in Seattle at that time. I just remember I had a lot of people buzzing like, wow, man, the aliens got to be real. Did you see that on the news? And, you know, ever since then, there's just been more military officials and press conference and saying, oh, yeah, we got some information. But they also just, they make it unclear. And then next thing you know, you have another guy come out and he'll say, oh, no, there's no hard proof of any UFO alien stuff. And anyway, but I think by the year 2041, 94 years after 1947, I think they're really going to try and sell the world on a hard narrative. And remember, everything these people do, it is meant to divide society. But yeah, also about 94, if you're new here, you know, Seattle, Washington is 94, where the first UFO sightings were seen from. Seattle, Washington, where the Space Needle is. And this is a huge number with Seattle. Again, Jeff Bezos, who looks like an alien, he created Amazon in 94. That was the year Bill Gates became a celebrity, him and Melinda. Bill and Melinda got married on January 1st, 94, and then Kurt Cobain died 94 days later, which was also 206 days before Bill Gates' birthday, and the 206 area code, and a whole lot of other stuff. But yeah, 94, big Seattle number. When Seattle won their first Super Bowl, it was the 94th NFL season. They beat Denver. Speaking of the Seattle-Colorado connection, that was the Up and Smoke Bowl after those two states legalized weed. And now you have this UFO researcher dead on 420. Do you follow what I'm saying? Colorado, Washington State. UFO researcher dead in Colorado. Seattle, the Space Needle. The 94 connection. Project Bluebeam came out in 1994. And for the record, Denver, you can see it's 68 and 94, just like Seattle, Washington, for the record. But yeah, anyhow, just going through the notes here. Edgar Casey, from his birthday anniversary to the supposed self-deletion of David Wilcock, a span of 34 days. Murder, and again, the self-deletion word, both 34. Span of 34 days. And again, on Hitler's birthday, who supposedly deleted himself, but his body was never recovered. Also, Edgar Casey, his death anniversary is January 3rd. And that means that this man died 107 days after the anniversary. Ritual sacrifice 107. Familiar patterns. Edgar Casey has the same 72 gematria as Hitler. Again, David Wilcock believed he was the reincarnation of this man. The book that he wrote with his biographer, Wynn, who's also supposedly dead. You know, again, the reincarnation of Edgar Casey, question mark. Yeah, those are the main points there. And I think right now I'll play the clip of. Yeah, I'm just going to play this clip. I just played it about 20 seconds before. I'm starting it about 20 seconds before he gets into what we really want to hear. I just want you to see the flow of how it was. He was doing his stream. He was interacting with the audience. And then he's going to get a message saying, hey, your biographer's dead.
I can turn it around. I'm trying to do various things because it's definitely been difficult for me. Charlie says she's eating M&Ms. Oh my gosh, I tapped right into that. Anyway, what we see here is a lot of interesting things going on, and it's a good thing. So, oh my gosh, it's sad to hear Winfrey just passed away. Bright butterfly wing. That is so weird, because last night, I was lying in bed and thinking, wouldn't it be sad if Winfrey passed away? He's the guy that wrote the Reincarnation of Edgar Cayce book with me. Last night I had that thought. I am not kidding you, and now you're telling me this. Lotus Girl says, I can't listen to your comedy. Well, sorry. Everybody really likes.
So, I mean, there wasn't really any emotion to that. And then there was the strange thing that I was just thinking about in bed if he died. It's like, what? Okay. I don't know. If I wrote a book with somebody and I found out they died, I feel like I'd have a little bit more of a response than that before he jumps into everything else he's about to talk about. And if you've watched it, he's about to get into his diet and why he's skinny, and people are telling him he needs to eat more meat, and then he says he can't afford meat. And probably by this part in the show, he'd probably collected, he's probably approaching $1,000 in super chats. So I was like, okay, I don't know what kind of bills you got going on, man, but you got a lot of money already on this stream, and I'm guessing it's like that every time. I have no idea how much money he made off Ancient Aliens, but to say that he couldn't afford meat, I just found that weird. I was like, he's bankrolling this live stream. Okay, should be able to afford some meat after this stream. Anyway, what people need to understand is that if you get to go on TV, you're part of a club that most of us aren't in. And you see this all the time for the people who are in the world of entertainment. You see them exit the stage by the number. Again, that phrase, your number was up. This guy's in the disclosure movement, and he's dead 53 days before the movie comes out at 53 when his name equals 53. Doesn't seem to be an accident. So... yeah, and just about Project Bluebeam and 94 and this man dying not far from Denver. Again, just big alien number. Space Needle's there. Jeff Bezos, Jeff Bezos does have that 9441 connection. Maybe in 2041, it'll be the one company to own all things Amazon. SpaceX, another one of them. Yeah, I have a list of 94 related stuff here, but these stories were from the same day. Jeff Bezos steps down as Amazon CEO and a SpaceX rocket crashes. Of course, I think Bezos' company is called Blue Origin, his competitor with SpaceX. The super chat that left up here, we're going to look into that. Another name that's being brought up right now is Nick Pope, who was also in the same field as David Wilcock. Pretty much these guys are almost every article being written about David Wilcock is bringing up this other death of Nick Pope, who was in the same field. Something stood out in a big way about Nick Pope's death. He was born September 19th. And also died at a relatively young age. He was 60 going on 61 later this year. He died in Arizona, right next door to New Mexico. And he died 199 days after his birthday on 4/6. And his birthday can be written 19/9. 199 is the 46th prime. Sacrifice equals 46. Genesis 46 is about sacrifice. In the Catholic Old Testament, there's 46 books. Again, the Jesuits are the military order of the Catholic Church. And keep in mind the word Catholic equals 46. Again, JFK, the first Catholic president. Again, if you're new here, JFK was number 35, the first Catholic president, killed at age 46. The second Catholic president, Joe Biden, lost his son Beau Biden at 46 and was elected exactly 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. Again, if you're new here, there's 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament than Protestant. Again, 46 books. So these are the 4 base ciphers, and this is the system, and you learn it. But with regards to the Catholic Church and the Pope, and this guy's name being Nick Pope, he's referred to as a UFO investigator. He died 204 days after the Pope's birthday. UFO investigator has the 201 and 204, like Catholic. And with regards to 204, what day did David Wilcock die? He died on the 20th day of the 4th month. It can be written 204 that day, 20/4 the day that David Wilcock died, right after this man's passing. So if you're new here, 201, huge number with the CIA, NASA, the Project Paperclip to bring over the Nazi scientists. Of course, the moon landing was 24 years to the day of that operation beginning, and the first man to walk on the moon, Neil Alden Armstrong, 201. And don't forget the Twilight Zone, the first episode of the Twilight Zone, the pilot was about putting a man on the moon. Twilight Zone's got that 201, 204 too as well. How interesting. So, yeah, let's look into the 34-year-old woman who's part of the 11 researchers who passed, Amy Eskridge. Amy Eskridge, huh? So yeah, she's being written about alongside David Wilcock. Okay, and they both have this 34 connection. It's interesting. I mean, look at these articles that are written, right? These aren't the normal group of. This isn't. It's like you'd say these are B news outlets, right? News Nation, Hindustan Times, Lockmat Times, The Australian, Bollywood Shotties. But this is the kind of stuff that also gets put on X and YouTube and re-syndicated. But it is interesting. The point I'm making is that the mainstream's not writing about any of this. Not that the mainstream's legit, but yeah, it seems that all of this stuff is from the B news outlets. Let's go to the Bollywood Shotties. Amy Eskridge's old text in her and David Wilcock's cause of death would never kill myself. UFO scientist Amy Eskridge and David Wilcock both report. By the way, what is a UFO scientist? I'm curious. UFO scientists Amy Eskridge and David Wilcock both reportedly died from self-inflicted gunshot wounds, but the internet isn't buying the narrative, especially after Amy's old texts resurface. So this, this is written in India, I'm sure. That's why it's April 23rd. They're ahead of us. The internet refuses to believe that UFO expert David Wilcock's reported death on April 20th, 2026 was a self-deletion. Amid the ongoing speculation, an old text from late UFO scientist Amy Eskridge has resurfaced, casting doubt on her cause of death in 2022. Okay, so this was a while ago. This was 4 years ago. With Wilcock's death fresh in everyone's minds, the fact that both he and... I did see how Fox News actually... Hold on. Let me see if I did put down a quick lazy post the other day, because I actually think I did see this covered on Fox News about a week back. And I thought, why are they doing that right now? Hold on. Let me look in my unfinished posts. I think Fox News had a post on her about a week or so back. I don't have as much time as I used to, so I let a lot of things slip through the cracks. Not that I want to. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull up the story. Fox News, 11 scientists, deaths. This is from recently, but I think this is what I saw 6 days ago. Because I was scanning this, and I think I saw her name in there. Yeah, look at that. It's right there. April. Okay, so this story was on the 107th day of the year, right? And we were just talking about 107 in light of David Wilcock dying 107 days from the death anniversary of... Oh, DK Stonewood, if you're out there, feel free to call back. I looked over at my phone a hair too late and saw you hanging up. But yeah, I did see this. Amy Eskridge, 34. I know that the day that I caught this, Fox News had it as their top story. Like, if you go to their website, they'll have a big image for the top story. That's why I remembered seeing this. All right, we got a DK Stonewood signing. Let's see what he's got. What's up, DK?
This is funny because this is right in my wheelhouse. I've been kicked out of 2 conferences, not necessarily because of David Wilcock, but just for calling, just like, basically what you did to like Oklahoma City and just show up there, just start causing problems. But since it's like a paid event or whatever, it's not like public property. So they escorted me out at the Conscious Life Expo. The other one, they just basically kicked me out. I left on my own accord. But these are like the typical, like I would say they're being phased out now that the whole kind of disclosure show is over. And there's a few guys still out there, but like the main guys from way back when, like this is like going back over 10 years that this stuff that I'm telling you happened. It was like Stephen Greer, Stephen Bassett, Richard Dolan, Wilcock, and then probably, I don't know how many years ago now, maybe 8 years ago, this guy Corey Good came out on the mix, and David Wilcock was the one that kind of brought him onto the public scene. And then as of maybe like the last 5 years to Billy Carson, but going back, obviously Zechariah Sitchin wasn't there, but like Eric Von Daniken, all these guys are like part of the fake, disclosure.
The last name you said, he died on April 14th. So I noticed that last name you said, Eric Von Daniken. Is that how it is? Daniken. Yeah, I saw that he died on April 14th, and a lot of the original posts were that the biographer of David Wilcock died on April 14th. So I thought that was interesting. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, really not much to say about these guys. I sent you a text a couple days ago. You didn't see it yet, but let me read you this quick thing. The Jewish ritual of piercing a servant's ear with an awl, A-W-L, as described in Exodus 21-1 and Deuteronomy 15:12, is a biblical procedure for a Hebrew servant who chooses to remain in permanent servitude to their master rather than leaving after the standard 6-year term. And then in the Jewish Talmudic tradition, it's called the specific ear. From the Kedushin 22b specifies that the right ear is the one that is to be pierced. Just going back to the Trump ear psyop.
That's interesting. Okay.
You got to look at those numbers. I'm not the gematria specialist, but I bet you Exodus 21-1 is 112 backwards, of course. And then I don't know.
Well, the apprentice equals 211, right? The 47th prime.
Oh, and that too. Yeah. So you got to look at this.
Interesting. So what's your take on all these deaths? Do you think they're really happening?
No, I think they're just like being written out of the script right now because that part is over. And then they're going to, like you said, they're going to gear up for something, I think, way sooner than 2041. And also, are we even really in, 2026 now? Or are they buying themselves some time? Like how some people set their alarm clock, or they set their clock 15 minutes fast, and then, their alarm is like at the time they should wake up, but then they bought themselves 15 minutes that way, in case something happens, they're running a little bit late. How do we know they didn't move the calendar forward, a few years to buy themselves some time in case they're late on their, everybody's like, oh, they're so late on their agenda, the 2030, it's only 4 years away. I'm like, how do we know we're not really on the Ethiopian calendar? What are they, 11 or 14 years behind us or something? We could be on that.
I suppose, but again, we know the Jesuits implemented the calendar we're on, and it does seem like they pretty much do everything according to. If you look at the calendar as a game board for them, it seems like they do everything according to plans. So.
Oh yeah, right. Of course, all the numbers line up. I'm just saying, like on the side, did they just do that to buy themselves the games being played on the board we're looking at? But you know, did they buy themselves some time? You know, did they do that? Who knows? But I think right now all this disclosure stuff is kind of like everybody knows about all this stuff now, and I think it's kind of like dying out. So then they're going to write these guys out of the script. Because how many of these researchers did you say? 11 of them out of the UFO community?
Well, again, this headline from a week ago says 11th scientist death emerges, but then it says she died in 2022. So, and why did that come out right before this David Wilcock supposed death? It almost seems like that was just a little precursor to get people's juices flowing for this type of story.
Yeah, and then they just recently married him off to some girl who's just way out of his league. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember that? Did you know about who he was back then?
What do you mean?
Like he just got married, like maybe I don't know, 2-3 years ago to some chick who's like half his age, and it just makes no sense. You know what I mean? He's like a pencil neck geek, like Jewish guy. Everybody was saying how skinny he is and all that. Then he has like this new wife who's just, you know, it just made no sense. That was probably, I don't know, maybe it's right around COVID time, maybe a little after.
I did read he was going through a divorce. Maybe that's why he said he can't afford meat. He lost all his money in the divorce.
Okay. Going through a divorce with that chick? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that would make the self-deletion thing sound a little bit more legitimate too. I don't know if you took a look at the way that girl looks compared to how he looks. You know, it's like, how did he pull that one off?
Well, you know, money will make things happen. So
I always thought that was like a handler or something. You know, how they always put these like blondes in a position where, you know, Hitler had a blonde, JFK had a blonde. You know, these guys all have like a blonde, like bombshell next to him who's like that, whatever kitty cat programming from the CIA that, you know, kind of watches over their behavior.
Sure.
Yeah, that's about it. Well, you know what I was gonna say? You know how we're always talking about like who's, you know, they're breeding these guys, who's this guy's dad and this and that. So we always talk about athletes as far as that's concerned. But what about just these like evil, like successful politicians that people believe and stuff like that? Why wouldn't they be breeding them too? You know? So I don't know if you ever heard.
I've definitely speculated on that. I mean, I use the phrase Manchurian candidate that comes from the old movie about.
Right. Okay. So have you I think you mentioned this one before that like how Bill Maher is actually the son of Hugh Hefner.
I don't think I've said that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, like that's been going around. That's not like I was just like, you know, because we always talk about like the athletes, especially the, you know, NFL and NBA players, but also you never probably heard this one. So you know Trump's adopted.
I didn't know. I hadn't heard that he was adopted.
And his actual father is supposed to be General Patton. Like that's his like biological father. Same thing like how the Clinton thing is and the Hitler thing is. You know, they're always like their dads are dead and then they get adopted and the last name changes. But yeah, take a pic. Look at General Patton like when he's older, because Trump's now like what 80, and Trump. They're just like spitting images of each other.
Okay.
And a recent one that has been going around for a few months, I forgot to mention, is since the Charlie Kirk thing happened, that Michael Aquino, you know who that creature is?
The occultist who was in the military.
Yeah, the guy who started the Temple of Set.
Right.
Yeah, so pull up a picture of him and JD Vance and Erica Kirk. They're supposed to be his children. And they got the same jaw, the same exact everything, like jaw structure and everything of Michael Aquino. So I was like, I just wanted to throw that in there because we're always, you're kind of sports based with the gematria stuff, but like, I'm pretty sure they're doing the even more based on these, these evil leaders that were successful. And I'm sure you heard the Hillary Clinton, Angela Merkel being Hitler's kids, right?
I don't know if I've heard that one either, but okay, the leader of Germany, all right.
Yeah, the former leader of Germany just put a mustache on her. There's nothing else that needs to be done. It's just, you might as well, that's a picture of Hitler. And then Hillary Clinton, they're like half sisters. So, but there's pictures when Hitler was young with these two little blondes, and nobody's like, who are these little blonde girls? You know what I mean? So I mean, I don't know, that it seems like the span of years would be too much, but they also made that movie Boys from Brazil. Are you familiar with that?
I have heard of that movie, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, they basically like, it's about that, kind of like cloning these people, like, you know, kind of like the DNA on what's her name, Monica Lewinsky's dress, like that type of thing. And then they save it, and then, you know, they're like making clones of like Hitler like generations later and stuff like that. Like they still have the DNA.
Interesting. Okay.
So that kind of that's actually been, movies have been made about that, and that's kind of been popularized, where this stuff about the athletes, I don't really hear too many people talking about that. So when I heard you talk about it, I'm like, oh, okay, this guy knows at least that too. Yeah, that's about it. All I can think of right now.
All right. Appreciate it all. Thanks, DK.
All right, Zach. Talk soon.
See you, man. All right. Always interesting. Yeah, this Amy Eskridge, but it does stand out that they just put up this story, and then it's from 4 years ago. I remember in the occult, 4 is the number of death. I'm curious about the surname Eskridge. I haven't heard that. What's the meaning of that name? English habitational surname originating from Cumbria or Lancashire. Ridge by the river. Well, it makes sense. Eskridge. I wonder where his cabin was. His cabin wasn't on any. I mean, he's in Colorado. It's pretty mountainous. That's what I mean. Why was this a front page story for Fox News just days before his death? I want to know more about the location of his cabin. Was it on a ridge by the river? Because, I mean, to have this as the top story when this happened 4 years ago, and now these B news stories are writing about his name alongside hers. She was in Huntsville, Alabama. He was in a cabin in the woods. You often stay in a cabin in the woods when you're hunting. Based researcher has now resurfaced online as the 11th case in a growing list of scientists who have died or disappeared under unusual circumstances. President Donald Trump said Thursday he had just left a meeting. Remember, Trump's 47. All the UFO stuff goes back to 47. That was 79 years ago, like Trump is 79. He will turn 80. Trump was born in 46. Trump said Thursday he had just left a meeting on the issue and vowed answers within days, calling the situation pretty serious. We're going to have a disclosure day. They're going to leave no stone unturned. In light of the recent and legitimate questions about these troubling cases and President Trump's commitment to the truth. Remember, you guys, we've been talking this stuff for years, which is Trump 47, Truth Social 47, what a big script it all is. Trump's truth and on Truth Social. In light of the recent and legitimate questions about these troubling cases and President Trump's commitment to the truth. Yeah, right. The White House is actively working with all relevant agencies and the FBI to holistically review all of the cases together and identify any potential commonalities that may exist, Levitt said. No stone will be unturned in this effort, and the White House will provide updates when we have them. I won't hold my breath. Eskridge died on June 11th, 2022. Here's the thing about June 11th. Check this out. If you measure from that day until, what in the world? What's going on? June 11th, we'll just do this year. It doesn't matter, it'll be in a year. To the end of the year. Whoops. If you count the span of days, it's the first of the last 204 days of the year, right? We were just talking about this Nick Pope guy who died 204 days after the Pope, and how David Wilcock died on the day that can be written 20/4. So these are all UFO investigators. So yeah, that is interesting there. That's interesting. Eskridge co-founded the Institute for Exotic Science and described her work as focused on experimental propulsion concepts, including what she referred to as anti-gravity research. Is there any more information about this exotic science? The Institute is no more. Okay. But yeah, it's as far as I can tell, it's just another one of these show business is deadly business examples. David Wilcock dead at 53 days before disclosure day. You get put on these people's programs like Ancient Aliens, and I believe Ancient Aliens came out on his birthday. I believe the first episode was March 8th. Get the Wikipedia for this thing. Yeah, first episode, March 8th, 2009. So the show turned 17 years old on his birthday this year, which is the day he turned 53. The executive producer is Kevin Burns. Oh, he's dead. And look at what day he died. So the executive, I was just saying this about Ancient Aliens, you guys. I was just saying how it has the 54 like Jesuit order. And look at what day this guy died. The executive producer for the show died on the anniversary of the Jesuits being recognized by the Roman Catholic Church, September 27th. The day that Google celebrates its birthday as. What year did he die? He died during Cooties. He died during the Cooties pandemic, which every face of it was a Jesuit. Died 101 days after his birthday, or on the 102nd day of his age. He was raised Roman Catholic. Go figure. What did he die from? Cardiac arrest. At Cedars Sinai Medical Center. Man, it's crazy how many weird deaths happen at this place right here. Cedars Sinai. Every damn suspicious death in the Hollywood area goes back to that hospital. Wait a minute. What did I just see down here? He's connected to Star Wars. He's got a lot of connections to Star Wars. What's the last thing he worked on? Lost in Space. The Tesla Files. So the last thing he worked on was this series based on something that was first written in 1965, and then he dies at 65. That's what stood out to me about him dying at 65. Remember Bill Gates, who turned 65 that year, put on the Event 201 cootie simulation of the day the military world games began in Wuhan, China. And in the simulation, 65 million die. The first case of cooties outside of China was in his backyard by the Space Needle 15/1. And then do you remember how at the beginning of Cooties 19, the Walking Dead creator came out? You know, that's set in Atlanta, and the CDC's at the beginning of that show. Like the CDC helped with the simulation. But the creator came out and for the first time hinted at what caused the global zombie apocalypse. And I think he wrote Space Spore, if I remember right. Space Spore. Let me see. Walking Dead creator, Space Spore. In January 2020. It was, yeah, right at the beginning of the pandemic. Space Spore. That is what he wrote. I don't even know how I remember some of these things. Like, what the hell? Can't remember half the stuff I did last week, but somehow I remember that. Oh yeah, he did it on March 22nd too. Okay. He put out his statement on a date that can be written 22/3. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are interesting here. Space Spore. What do you know? It's got the 54 as well, going with all those Jesuits who were the face of the pandemic, from Trump to Fauci to Cuomo to Newsom to Redfield to the rest of them. Eventually Biden. Okay. Did I see Trump's marijuana news? Didn't I have a prediction about what I thought would happen in this term? Trump 88, marijuana 88. Don't forget California's 420 ritual during Trump's first term. From the day they voted on legalization to the day that the dispensaries opened, it was 420 days. If you write out 420, it equals 88. California, where the 420 thing started, 88. Trump, let's see, marijuana. What did he say? Trump set to reclassify marijuana soon. You know, I was talking about how David Wilcock died on 420. And remember, HH is associated with Hitler, and H is the 8th letter. Trump supposedly was carrying around Mein Kampf, was what the media was reporting back in 2016. Well, it doesn't look like it happened today. We didn't hear about it. It said as soon as today, so I don't think it was today. Hold on. You know, it is interesting how that word has the 34 connection too, isn't it? In light of 420 and high up in the sky, outer space, aliens. Is there some sort of joke here? Hold on. Let me see if Trump I gotta look this up real quick. I'm interested in this. What day did Trump what day in December of 2025? Was it December 18th? It was December 18th. So the second day of Saturnalia, the anniversary of Chris Farley's death. The order was called Increasing Medical Marijuana and Cannabidiol Research. Researching cannabinoids, cannabidiol. I haven't heard it put that way before. Trying to see if any of these days make good sense. They said as soon as today, but it didn't happen today. All right, I'm gonna have to think more about why now, right after 420, days after 420. Check one more thing. Oh, wow, look at that, you guys. So there was speculation that he might have signed it today. Today's 457 days into the administration, the 88th prime number. Let's make sure it wasn't signed today. So it made the news today. All right. But yeah, you see how the news works. Today, the speculation, and okay, Trump and marijuana, 88. It's funny how they have it in the same classification as heroin. I mean, LSD doesn't belong there either. I mean, heroin destroys people's life. Super addictive. Marijuana and LSD, not even comparable. Not even comparable. Schedule 3 drugs have a moderate to low potential for physical and psychological dependence. Let me see. What are the top cannabis ETFs? Do we have any cannabis ETF offerings out here? Let me see something. What did it do today? It had a big jump today. It went up nearly 20% today upon the news. Damn. That's a big jump in a day. Had you put down 100 G's yesterday, it'd be worth $119,390 today. It could go up a lot more though with the news, but that's the value of this knowledge too. I mean, I said I think they're gonna do something with old cannabis here in this second term. It just makes too much sense. Don't forget the Pope died at 88 for the chump. Pope died on the 312th day of Chump's age, and then we got the first American Pope from the 312 area code, and that was after Chump supposedly got 312 electoral college votes. And by the way, that Pope's name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, equals 312. And again, he died on the 111th day of the year, and he died 201 days from the death anniversary of St. Francis of Assisi, who he was named after. And then the 105 goes with who replaced him, Pope Leo. All right. Okay. I see why the news speculation. And I guess if it was tomorrow, you could argue that tomorrow's, this distance in days, tomorrow's 457 days from his first full day in office, starting his new term, January 20th, Biden's out, he's in midday. That's how they do it, day after day. And if you guys missed it when California opened up their shops, California marijuana 420, hold up. So it was in Trump's first term. Well, there's that. Yeah, right here. The election was November 8th, 2016, and that was the day that California supposedly voted to legalize. 11-8, aren't those the factors of 88? 11 times 8, 88. But yeah, there it is right there. Boom, they opened the dispensaries January 1st, 2018, 420 days. 60 weeks is funny too. I think that's part of what I was saying also, because Donald Trump is 60. Like this time around, he supposedly won the 60th election. So it's amazing how they have it, how it all works out just right after 420. Wouldn't it be hilarious if the day of the announcement, this shoots up to $8.88? $8. Now that would be a huge appreciation. That would be a monster appreciation. $8.88. And it could go up a lot more from there, but yeah, man, you can buy a lot of shares at a low price. They legalized alcohol by the numbers during the Great Depression. A lot of people are down and out right now. Have them in the clouds with the cannabis. Finally, some more freedoms in the supposed land of the free and the brave. Where pretty much no one is brave and no one's really free either. Okay. But yeah, good heads up on the cannabis thing. Super interesting. I'm going to have to do a post about that. Damn, I feel like I missed a golden opportunity. Ooh. Oh, Victor coming 2 times. I appreciate the double tip. All right. I think they did use LSD in the MK Ultra research, but it doesn't mean that it's all banned. I prefer magic mushrooms. All right. Am I late? You're definitely late. I'm about to wrap this thing up. Yeah, no, this thing will go way more up if they legalize all the way. That was just on the speculation of today's news. Again, none of the marijuana stocks have done well because of the way the federal government interferes with the states where it is legal. So, if the state backs down, or if the feds back down, it'll just it'll help pave the way. The other thing that needs to happen for the cannabis business is, people in the cannabis industry, they're not allowed to put their money from their business into banks. And it's why, yeah, so that's the other thing that needs to happen federally for the market to really take off for this. But yeah, I am. I'm pretty sure that's exactly how it would be the day you hear the news that thing's gonna go up to like $8.80 a share, $8.88. See this kind of stuff all the time with the market. SpaceX, when it goes on the market, remember he just filed his IPO on April Fool's Day, the day of the launch. IPO 4114. You know, I won't be surprised if SpaceX, its stock soars on the first day. Like, watch, it'll probably have an opening share price of one of these numbers right here on the screen. And, you know, in no time flat, you know, might open at $31 and within a matter of days be up to 68. Yeah, if you got here late, the main topic was covered, plus some more, and then we jumped into some super chats. Eskridge and Nick Pope have the same birthday, huh? That's interesting. September 19th. Yeah, I agree with this too, because just they're just, I mean, the government always wants more taxes, but a lot of people right now are just seeing property taxes go through the roof. You know, I had a city reassess the value of a property I have, and they doubled the value of the property. And I know I couldn't get double what I paid for it on the market, but they did that to collect double in taxes, which reminds me I need to go argue that. So. You know, this story is from, what year was it? I think it was either 2006 or 2007, but I went up to Whistler Blackcomb, and I just remember I'd never seen anything like it in my life. There was a drug dealer there. I believe when you get in the Whistler Blackcomb, it might have changed by now. I think it was a Domino's Pizza that was just right there at like the main entrance to Whistler Blackcomb. If you don't know what Whistler Blackcomb is, it's the ski resort. But there was a Domino's Pizza. I'm pretty sure it was Domino's, and it was late at night. We got into Canada late, and we were going to see what was open. And there was a guy, a drug dealer, right in front of the pizza shop, and he was literally giving out samples, and he was like calling it out. He was like just trying to get customers. And who was standing 10 feet behind him? A Mountie, which is, for people who don't know, it's the Canadian police. And I was like, what in the world? Was it some kind of like obvious sting operation? But then I was watching, I was like, wow. And then I thought about it. I thought, you know what? This is the way it should be. This is the way it should be in the land of the free. You should be able to sell drugs, and that's actually what the police should do. He should hang out by there just to make sure, you know, the kind of things that can go sideways with the drug deals, because people got money and people rob people and shoot people. But the Mountie's there to make sure nothing goes astray. These are going to be nice, clean drug deals. Nobody's killing anybody. Nobody's shooting anybody. I thought this is actually the way it should be. If you want to buy some drugs, this is the way you police the whole situation too. And I've heard that Canada is not that way anymore. But I also remember on that trip on the way back home, we were flying down the mountain, and there was a Mountie on the side of the road on his car, and it just in his big red jacket doing this to slow down, slow down, slow down. And I thought, how nice is that? We're not getting some big ticket. The Mountie's on the side of the road telling us to slow down. Man, God bless Canada. Canada used to be a much better place. So, and man, those Canadian girls. Woo! I shouldn't talk about that anymore. Anyway, those days are behind me. Okay. All right, Truth Seeker. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you to all the super chatters. Again, if you got here late, we did talk about what mattered, or the main topic early. And then, again, we did stretch into some other subjects. Yeah, just, again, the big point, David Wilcock, 53, dead at 53, 53 days before disclosure day as a leader in the disclosure movement. Yeah, Mark Carney, also Jesuit educated, just like Justin Trudeau, just like Donald Trump, right? Carney, like a carnival worker. What a show it is. We got an orange. Think about that. We got an orange clown in America. And then in Canada, they got a carnival worker. And in Mexico, they got their first woman in a nation of all Catholics who's Jewish. It's like, what? What? With a German name? What's going on here? All right, you guys. Have a good night. And until next time.